One of the things we're struggling against is man-made, man-led religions. So all religions have a basis in truth, in divine inspiration, but all religions were taken over by human objectives, usually to create empires, to motivate armies, whatever. So the words always got twisted. And one of the harms out there is that we externalized God. We said God is away from us, God is separate from us, heaven is separate from us, and you have to become worthy of that. Now, any one of you who are parents out there, you will immediately understand the absurdity of telling your child that your child has to be worthy of your love. If that's not possible in human parent-child relationship, do you think that that is necessary in divinity? God, who is love. God is love. The definition of God is the lack of separation, the lack of distance between, the lack of two to begin with. Do you think that there's a need to earn or deserve or have rank and have worthiness for the grace of God? Of course not. If you look in the texts, whichever text you're familiar with, I grew up when I was younger as a Christian, and I'm very familiar with the Bible, but whatever text you're familiar with, you will see that God is love. You will also see, as it says in the Bible, that the kingdom of heaven is inside of you. The leadership, the historical leadership, especially when it comes to, political leadership, where politics and religion crossed, they try to hide that fact from you, but it is very clearly stated right there, straight out of Jesus's mouth. The kingdom of heaven is within you. The kingdom of heaven is within you. So, what does that mean? Let's break it down. I always like to break it down logically. I find that when you use logic, you don't ask the ego to believe something difficult, and you don't end up with an ego resisting you and challenging you and saying, I can't believe that, I can't accept that. So let's just use logic. The kingdom of heaven, or the kingdom of God is where God is, right? And we know that God is everywhere. God is like the sky. The sky is everywhere. God is like the sun. The light of the sun is everywhere. God is the fabric from which this universe is made. God is the breath that breathes through you. So God is everywhere outside, and God is everywhere on the surface, and God is everywhere inside. God is your cells. God is your brain. God is everything. So the kingdom of God is where God exists. And you can use whatever word you prefer. If you prefer to use spirit, or you prefer to use consciousness or self, whatever, the highest divinity, the highest perception, and the highest power in this universe exists throughout the entire universe, which means it exists throughout you, on the inside of your body, on the outside of your body, on the inside of your brain, on the outside of your brain. It exists everywhere. The kingdom, however, is where God reigns. And that is where you can get a little bit of a duality existing. God reigning is a question of authority and ability and permission. God is not a bully. The highest perception of the highest part of your being is not going to deny you the right to live as an individual. All right? If you want to move out of your parents' house at the age of 18 and you want to go pay rent and you want to shop for your own groceries and you're like, oh my God, I want to be an adult, your parents are not going to stop you. They're going to, by all means, carry on. You want to be independent. Independence and the experience of life on your own is a loving act that is granted to you. Go ahead, effort, try it. And God, the divine, I'll go back to using the word spirit just so that I don't trigger anybody who's uncomfortable with the word God, or who has different notions of the word God. Spirit, the divine, yourself with a capital S, the one who is still an expression of the highest consciousness in the universe, wants you to experience what it's like to be you, John or Mary or whatever your name is. It wants you to know what it's like to try. It wants you to know what it's like to, just like sitting on your parents' lap pretending to drive a car or something. There's a fun in that. And as a parent, it is allowing you to do that for as long as you want to do it. But we have been learning about surrender. We have been learning about the sweetness of life when we switch from a mode of I will do it all to I will take all of that weight off my shoulders, be unbelievably relieved, and then enjoy the act of co-creating with my divine self. So I will look at the world and say what I'm ready to stop hating and stop resisting. And then I will turn to my divine self and say, help me. I will look at the bounty around me, the buffet in front of me, and say, what am I ready to try? And then I will turn to my divine self and say, I'm ready. I will grant my free will of what I want to experience and not experience in this world anymore. And then I will lay it at the feet of the divine and I will say, you are the one who's capable. You are the one who understands. You are the one who can guide. And I want to co-create this with you. But what I want to do is I want to be the will to allow, and I want to be the five senses to perceive and experience. But everything else is you. Everything else is you. So co-creation is the matured relationship that you have with your parent, if you will, to carry on with the metaphor. Co-creation is where you stop being sort of that younger self who's like, I want to do it, I can do it, I can do it, no, I can do it. And you're more like, hey, can we do this together? Because there's strengths here. You have the wisdom, you have the power, I have the desire, I have the five senses to experience. Let's co-create and co-experience this together. So when you're ready to allow God, then you have the kingdom of God, because the kingdom of God isn't just the location of God, it is the expression and permission of God. So when you switch your life now to a place where you allow this divine expression, then you have divine authority. You have whatever you want to. I just want you for a few moments to get rid of whatever notions you have around the word heaven, because I'm just going to use the quotation, the kingdom of heaven, but don't think of, the guy with the beard on the throne. Don't think of the angels in the clouds and all that kind of stuff, right? Think of heaven, and this is why I want to use different words, but I'll segue into the different words, right? Think of heaven as the place where, let me just make sure this is on. I have been known to record entire videos and not turn that on. Heaven is a dimension. Heaven is a realm of consciousness where there is the consciousness of God. Okay? So let's slowly start transitioning those words. Instead of heaven, let's use the word heart space. This is the word I prefer to use because it doesn't come with baggage and preconceived notions. The heart space is not the physical heart. It is not the chakra of the heart. It is heart space. And it's where there is the consciousness of the divine, the highest consciousness. And the highest consciousness has no separation. The highest consciousness has no boundaries in physicality. It's not limited in its size. It has no boundaries in time. It's not limited in now and then and this timeline and that timeline. It just is. Everything is. And the highest consciousness has no sense of separation from others. So it has no conflict. It has no fight. It has no resistance. It has no objection. In your physical world, there is a thing called a bank or government or a board of directors, or your bosses, or whoever it is you perceive as having authority that can refuse or allow whatever it is you choose. In the heart space, that doesn't exist because there is only one. Every single thing that exists in the heart space as the consciousness that is directing everything. So it is a difficult concept to grasp until you just grasp it. Trust me, you will grasp it. So I like to think of it as the hub of a wheel, of a bicycle wheel or a Ferris wheel, if you will. So if you have the divine at the middle, and the divine reaches out and forms you, and then reaches out and forms someone else, and then reaches out and forms someone else, and then reaches out and forms someone else, they're all crossing here in the middle, right? This is really just a crude example. I do have a couple of videos about this on my channel, and I can go into detail if you want. Right now, you are experiencing life here as this, and you are praying to this, about this. The kingdom of heaven is where you have this consciousness perceiving from here all of these things as itself. Wicked stretch of consciousness to get to that. I'm not going to ask you to leap to that awareness right now, but trust me that we're getting there. The exercises that we do together will help you to at least fathom this and to touch this and eventually to fully embody this. So this kingdom of heaven is currently, every single word is important, inside of you, which means it is accessible to you, which means it is not far away. You do not have to call it, beckon it, beseech it, or wait for it. You have access to it. You have the right to it. And it is there for you, in service of you, when you are there. Metaphors help me. I hope these metaphors help you. One of the best visual metaphors for all of this is The Matrix, the movie. If you have seen it, then you know that Mr. Anderson, in his little apartment at his computer or working in his little cubicle at his office, cannot access the loading bay. But the loading bay exists within him. He has to shift his consciousness, and he has to understand himself to be Neo. He has to understand the Matrix to be something that exists entirely within this blank white space. And then from that blank white space, he can load anything he wants. But it cannot occur as Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson cannot access that space. That space cannot be pulled and forced into his world by force. Why am I going into all this detail? We are about to begin exploring being. Being is how you experience the kingdom of heaven. Being is just a very, very simple way to make the kingdom of heaven accessible to you and to show how common it is. But we're entering there. We're about to do, I'll just go into a whole series on being. The book that I wrote is about being. It's all about what happens when you access that space, but it's important not to try to take the ego into the kingdom of heaven. If you want to look at it through the Christian lens, go and look at every time Jesus refers to the Son of Man and the Son of God. He never says the Son of Man can go into heaven or the Son of Man can control things in heaven. Only the Son of God can do that. You have to understand that the person that you are at this particular moment, no matter how much you've read and studied and meditated, in this moment, you are the apparent separate self. You perceive as the apparent separate self. You want as the apparent separate self. You pray as the apparent separate self. You identify problems or desires that you want from the divine as the apparent separate self. And you hold on to that perspective, asking the apparent separate God for help with these apparent problems. And you cannot enter the kingdom of God unless you drop all of it. You have to unburden yourself of the othering that you have for the people involved in what you're asking for or trying to change. You have to unburden yourself of the struggle. You have to unburden yourself of the effort. You have to unburden yourself of the plan of doership. I am going to do this and I am going to do that and I will achieve it. In fact, you have to unburden yourself of the very concept of being separate. You have to experience, you have to stand in that vast white empty space and experience it as the divine. As the divine. And the easiest way to do that, because right now as I'm saying this to you, you're going, okay, tell me how to do it. And again, that's you as a separate self trying to figure out separate self action. And the only answer is surrender. Surrender your entire self to the guidance and expression of this higher level of consciousness. It will come to you slowly. I promise you it will. You know what? Maybe I'll even start sending you guys, maybe not every week, but every now and then, guided meditations on this. Check out the channel, check out this, even the membership group. I've sent surrender prayers, daily surrender meditations, experiencing your essence, experiencing being. There's a playlist called Guided Meditations on the channel. Any one of those meditations will achieve the same thing. They are how you surrender. You begin by surrendering your will, asking for help, and then by removing your awareness from the things that make you your separate self. So I use, in all of my meditations, I use the breath as a way to take your awareness and place your awareness on the breath. Some people place their awareness on a mantra, some people place their awareness on an object or on a physical task. But the point is to remove your awareness from your problem, remove your awareness from your apparent physical being. This is my body, this is my backache, this is my headache. Remove your awareness from the world around you, the five senses, and place your awareness in something that captivates it. And the most powerful is your breath. And when you allow yourself to be completely captivated by breath, you allow yourself to surrender all the things that you believe separate you from the higher divinity. And when you allow this, and prior to this you asked for help, you said, divine, help me, God, help me, then you allow that grace, because God is perpetually trying to help you. Your higher self is perpetually trying to express itself, but you have to allow a space for that to show. And these two things, asking for the help and then creating a space for the help to happen, is what will get you to experience that consciousness of the divine. You'll realize that you are not separate from what you're asking help from. And you are not separate from the heaven that you seek to attain. And that you can attain that simply by doing what I refer to as being. There are lots of words to refer to it, but I like to highlight how simple it is and to say being, just being. Okay, so I feel like this was a lot of information. I need you guys to tell me where you're at with this. And next week, I will do a special in-depth video on being. Of course, there's a book on being, The Art of Being, and then there's in the general YouTube channel this week, I'm going to start talking about being. So tomorrow you're going to get a video on YouTube, the general YouTube channel, that says the experience of being is bliss. What in the yogic culture is called Satchitananda. The awareness of being is bliss. The happiness that you're looking for is something that you have to become aware of, because it is what you are. Okay, so we're going to explore this together. Thank you for being on this journey with me. Thank you for your feedback, and enjoy. Have a wonderful day.